of course, we have breaking news out of Canberra, and there's been a steady flow of changes within the Liberal Party, resignations. That was all kicked off yesterday by Angus Taylor. There will be a leadership spill, the timing of which is being decided as we speak. Live to our political editor, Andrew Clennell. What have you got for us?
Well, let's look at the numbers, Jane. Jane, what am I thinking about? Oh, I'm calling you Jane, Laura.
I'm not the deputy.
Gosh,
I'm not running to.
Jane. I'll talk about Jane Hume in a minute. She always comes on your show. Oh, God, that's terrible. All right, let's have a look at the numbers. These are the ones that I believe are moving. Remember, Angus Taylor lost 29 to 25. Zoe McKenzie, I'm expecting a flurry of texts after this, by the way. Leon Rebello, James McGrath, and then I'm told there's a fourth, and that could be Dave Sharma or it could be Tim Wilson. So I'm told there are four who have moved over. That's enough. Bear in mind there are a couple in there who are no longer there, Giselle Capterian, Holly Hughes, etc. So she was already a couple of votes down from 29 to 25. These are the key shifters, and we know Zoe McKenzie's going to have a crack at deputy. Here's the 25. Now, you know, it's a secret ballot, so this isn't rock solid, but it's as close to from calculations of people on the right. These are the votes that are going to Taylor that went there last time. You know, Taylor, Hasty, Tony Passon, Henry Pike is a hasty man, we know, and Violi, Thompson, Hamilton. We keep going. We go through them now. There you go, on screen. Mickey Cash in there. That's why she's going to have to resign from the front bench at some point today. We keep going. Dunningham, he's already resigned from the front bench. Patterson, Chandler, Jacinta Price, obviously, Alex Antic. Jane Hume, well, she wants to be his deputy, and the right believe they did get Dan Tehan. There's always been question marks around that. So again, that's a list from the right of those who voted last time. I'm not saying it's 100%, but I think it's pretty close to 100%. And again, the speculation from people in the right to me, multiple sources, if we can put up the possible, those who are shifting again, Zoe McKenzie, Leon Rebello, who's in, we're putting up the deputies. Well, let's talk about that. Oh, no, here we go. Zoe McKenzie, Leon Rebello, perhaps James McGrath, although there's been contention about whether he'd vote for an actual spill motion. So it's still pretty tight. And if Sussan Ley, Alex Hawke and co are on the phones, they know there's really 3 or 4 people they've got to target. I'm probably not helping the Taylor camp here to some extent. Let's talk about deputy though, Laura. It's because I've got some more information about this as well. So Jane Hume, your regular guest, is supposedly the favourite at the moment. Despite the fact, if she gets it, she and Taylor will cop some stick over work from home, over not backing tax cuts, all that. I'm told all 6 of these are running. Zoe McKenzie's obviously the new generation, but I'm told the most likely, Jane Hume, Ted O'Brien, Tim Wilson. They're the 3 of those 6 with the most chance of success. But it's been put to me with the backing of some in the right, or a lot of the right, other than James Patterson, who apparently doesn't like her. I keep saying that every day and I never get corrected. Jane Hume is the favourite there. So that's the situation as things stand. As I've said to you earlier, not sure if the meeting's tonight. Sussan Ley can do that. More likely early tomorrow morning. But at this stage, she's got 3 or 4 votes to claw back. Otherwise, Angus Taylor is the leader, Laura.
Yeah, I think it's likely to be tomorrow as well. That seems to be the most likely scenario, but you wouldn't predict anything at this point. So after 5 p.m. tonight, as you reported before, an absolute possibility. Let's just sit here for a moment, Andrew, and, you know, if you were the Labor government, who you're not under pressure at all at the moment, you'd be thinking about tactics and like clever lines and how you could target this new team, Angus Taylor and Jane Hume. Let's just assume that's what ends up by tomorrow morning. I mean, there is a buffet of things, of spears that they can throw at that team. And perhaps, I mean, if they come out fighting, all guns blazing, and actually having a crack on policy, it might not matter. I mean, Jane Hume on the backbench, I think, has shown where she was unrestrained and unshackled by having a portfolio, she's actually made a lot of sense. I think she's actually shepherded her party into delivering a better message. Not to great effect at this point, but they need to come out and show that they're willing to have a fight on these things. Do you think they have that in them?
I don't think anything's irreversible in politics. I mean, I said to you the other day, politics isn't black and white, but if you've got some baggage, it's a problem because a lot of people don't attend to politics. I don't watch Laura J's on Sky News all the time. Plenty do, of course. We know that. But for those who don't and only attend here and there, they only focus during the election campaign. And if you pull out all those gaffes and chuck them in a whole bunch of election ads, well, we saw what happened to Peter Dutton and we saw what happened to Scott Morrison. And Labor are very good at that, let's face it. So it's problematic. It's like you're starting at a back mark in a stall gift, you know. You're not starting at the actual start line. You're starting a few metres behind. So you've got to catch up. And that's a challenge. But, you know, if you went for less experienced people than Taylor and Hume, these are people who haven't learnt from their mistakes. And if I wanted to put a positive spin on it, I would say, well, Taylor and Hume will know what didn't work, what hurt them very badly, whether it's Chinese spies, comments, work from home policy, tax cuts policy. Yeah. And John Howard is a guy who you should look to, and they all look to. Lazarus with the triple bypass. He was a treasurer in the Malcolm Fraser government who was in charge of 10% unemployment and 11% inflation. Then he basically went against Asian immigration in the 1980s as opposition leader and had a spectacular defeat in 1987 and was Mr 18%, and yet he was one of our longest-serving prime ministers. So not everyone's John Howard. I don't think either of these two are, frankly. But there's lessons in there in terms of never say that the mistakes you've made define you as a leader going forward. No,
and it can spur you on. And this might very well be the case, but I think we need to be realistic about what their KPIs are here. If this is an Angus Taylor, Jane Hume duo going forward, do we really think, Andrew, sitting here, that this is the electable partnership to get into government? Or is this team about apologising for the past, making up for some of those mistakes, clearing the slate, and then perhaps saving the furniture or getting some of the furniture back at the next election?
Yeah, that's it. No, it's definitely the second thing. There's no doubt about it, particularly with that team. But I think even if Hastie was running, he's realistic to know it's got to be a two-term strategy unless the economy completely falls down the toilet. And you never know what events can do. You saw Bondi for the first time, Anthony Albanese was rocked in terms of his initial reaction. So anything can happen. And if you're there and you're in the right musical chair, you can become Prime Minister, even when you're expected not to. But right now, people, including I'm sure Angus Taylor, are realistic enough to know that this is an existential threat to the Liberal Party, the current poll numbers, the state of one nation and its rise. And he's there to get that Liberal Party vote back up to 28, 30%. I can't believe the words are coming out of my mouth, Laura. I was so used to a coalition primary of 40 for so long, which wasn't even necessarily enough to win elections. But that's how the political and electoral landscape has changed, and they will see that as their mission. And that just means hard work brick by brick. And look, I'm sure Taylor and if Hume gets there, are certainly aware of that. And I think this... look, I just had a moderate person say to me, to be frank, I think Angus Taylor will improve the poll ratings. And I sort of said, why? Because he has been a bit gaff-prone in the past. And they said to me, well, he couldn't possibly do worse than Sussan Ley. And if he wins today, that may be the view across the party room, Laura.
Yeah, there might be some lessons in that as well, but he's going to have to feed a lot of mouths. You know, we like to pretend that politics is all merit-based, but there is a price for the support he's about to get in party room, surely.
Yeah, well, if Tim Wilson and Zoe McKenzie come over, and McKenzie's more likely from my information, or Dave Sharma, they want frontbench spots and, you know, that's okay, or better frontbench spots. And then what do you give to other people?
Well, they probably deserve
obviously
them, to be
Hastie's
honest.
got to come back in there.
They're two pretty good performers. Zoe McKenzie untested. I think Tim Wilson goes back to his electorate. You know, he won that seat back off Teal, the only Liberal Party member to do so. He does cut through, at least in his electorate. He hasn't lost the art of actually advocating for what he believes in. And, you know, I know he rubs a few people the wrong way, but surely that merits being on the front bench. Zoe McKenzie... I think she's the same. As you said before, she's a really experienced staffer, and a lot of her colleagues speak really highly of her. Why shouldn't they be promoted?
Yeah, absolutely. But the other one's Hastie. So Hastie stepped aside from him. He could have made it messier. Don't forget that. my information is Hastie wants foreign affairs. So if you do that, if you give Hastie foreign affairs, what do you give Michaelia Cash, your Senate leader? You know, so it is kind of like dominoes or a jigsaw puzzle. You give something to someone, what do you find for someone else? And one of the reasons Sussan Ley ticked people off is she sort of did I saw John Howard do this with the moderates back in the day, but she gave all the right-wing senior people portfolios they didn't want. So Patterson wanted Home Affairs or Defence and he gets finance. Michaelia Cash gets foreign affairs. You know, so I think there's danger in doing it that way too. Yeah, what you say is, like, if he gets the leadership and he looks on the road to it, at least at the moment, this is the next big problem. And it might take a few days over a reshuffle, I'm sure, because you're going to annoy someone and they're going to remember it down the track. But
also the thing is here, Andrew, and we'll get to Julia Bradley because she's walking the corridors of Parliament Houses to, well, we'll see what she's picked up. But, you know, you'd have to hope that Hastie and Taylor, or now just Taylor, has had many months, probably longer than that, to think about what he wants to do as leader. There needs to be some drastic policy change here. And surely has thought about the type of leader he wants to be. Are there any hints around that, Andrew?
Yeah, well, it's really about, it's got to be about the economy and it's got to be about tax cuts and cutting government spending, doesn't it? I mean, that's, you know. Like, so what happened in the last election is we had a guy there saying we're about to be invaded by China. By the way, if China wanted to invade us, if the US doesn't help us, there's pretty much nothing we can do about it. So the voters went, well, I got a guy who doesn't want to give me a tax cut and keeps telling me we're about to be invaded by China. I don't really want to hear that. I'll have an urgent care clinic, thanks. And I'll have a tax cut and I'll have, you know, some HEC step wiped off. So you've got to find the path towards the narrative of defeating inflation, but at the same time, find some cost of living relief for people in a responsible way. It's a very difficult road to hoe for this government, let alone an opposition. And that will be the challenge going forward. And, you know, there are a few things that they can do that the other mob can't do and or find harder to do. One of them is cutting government spending, but that requires you to have the bravery to say you're doing it without hitting frontline services. The other of which the country needs, arguably, is IR reform. No one's brave enough after work choices to do that. But the central one I expect them to do is to cut immigration and to distinguish between where we take immigrants from. And that would be a slight departure from the White Australia policy, even though it's under the table, it's been done by politicians and bureaucrats for years. Yeah. And that will make it a very interesting contest. But that is the way to get the One Nation vote, because that's what's driving it.
Sure, but I wonder how many votes are in that. I don't think it's insignificant, but I think they're going to need a lot. Well, I'm not sure about that as well. Think about where you've got to win it in the suburbs. I'm thinking Western Sydney in particular.
Sure.
And, I mean, again, we've got to remind voters it's a preferential system and we have compulsory voting. So the equation is very different.
Just let me say this.
Please.
The ones who want less immigration, often the most, are the immigrants. Don't forget that, Laura.
Yeah, that's true.